Hello and welcome to another episode of Not Without My Sister with me, Beatrice McCabe, and you, Rosemary McCabe, shaking her head in amazement at the amazing presenter voice I just have.
I'm going to have to do it. You sound like you're presenting the Great British Bake Off, but like really annoying.
Oh, what's wrong with that?
You sound like when they do like an Irish spin-off for celebrities and everyone's like, oh, this is so annoying.
I am Irish. That was you're the one with the fake Irish accent.
Okay. Third time's the charm. I'm doing the intro.
I thought that was fine.
I bet you did. It wasn't.
So today we're going to talk about breakups and how embarrassingly Rosemary has behaved during breakups.
No, we're going to talk about the agony of breakups.
Oh yeah, okay.
How difficult they are, how to get through them. My personal coping methods involve a lot of food, basically.
Mine involves just being extremely sober. I've never actually been broken up with. You'll be surprised to hear.
I was told you were about to say I've never actually been sober.
No, that would be highly inaccurate. Okay, I've never actually been broken up with.
You've never been broken up with?
No, never. I feel like people, they just, once I start going out with them, this one,
once you pop, you just can't stop.
Of course I've been broken up with numerous times.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were serious. But also I just thought you'd gone mad. That I was like, I distinctly remember her being broken up with several times.
No, should you not remember that time I broke up with my first serious boyfriend
and
in college?
You brought me with you to the pub in Kill.
What? Oh, I brought you with me when I had to go and meet up with him again. Oh. No, do you remember I broke up? I didn't break up with him. He broke up with me. It turns out he was cheating on me. And there was lots of other shenanigans going on. But I should have known, this is the same guy with whom I went to a house party. I lived in Kilkenny at the time, went to a house party. And we went with all our friends. And halfway through the night, I was like, where is, X? And they're like, oh, I think he's outside. I think we saw him go outside. I go outside. There he is rolling around the back garden in the grass with this girl who I'd been chatting to that night. Yeah, we did break up. We had a brief hiatus where we broke up, but basically what it meant was he was fine and lived his life and I languished in floods of tears listening to Khalees at top volume. I hate you so much right now in my bedroom. I remember it every time I hear that song. I'm like, I do hate you. Yeah, in my tiny bedroom. Eventually one of my flatmates was like, could you play a different song? Pathetic.
Oh my God. Hang on a second. Did you break up with him after that moment at the house party?
Yeah. Okay, I stormed home. I walked home, even though it was miles away. I walked home in the pitch dark.
Oh, there's nothing. There's the indignity of
bawled
drunkenly
my
storming
eyes
away
out
from somewhere.
But then orchestrated a meetup and convinced him to get back with me about 6 weeks later. Pathetic. Actually pathetic. Where was my self-respect? Nowhere. There was none. Didn't exist at the time. Ended up getting back together with him. But it was never the same. That's kind of half the problem. When you get back with somebody again, in my experience, it's never been the same. It was never, it was always something was broken after that. Anyway.
It's like that book. It's called A Breakup because it's broken.
And then what happened then? Oh, maybe he broke up with me on the phone, I'm now thinking. Oh no, I know what it was. I was supposed to be going out to some big party. And he called me that night to say he wouldn't be coming. And he lived in Kilkenny. I was now living back at home because I was finishing my 4th year of college. And he called me to tell me he wouldn't be coming and he didn't want to go out with me anymore. And I was like, I was getting ready to go. I was literally waiting for him to pull up in the car so we were both going to go. And I forgot about that.
How long had you been dating for? Over a year, wasn't it?
A year and a half, yeah. It was very serious in my mind, right? We'd lived together and everything for a couple of months.
No, but that's a long, no matter what age you are, that's a long time to date somebody. If you were in America, you would have been married by then. At the age of 20.
Actually, that's true. And he was just probably my first serious boyfriend. Actually, he was my first boyfriend ever, wasn't he? He was my first serious boyfriend. I don't think anybody ever even gave me a kiss on the lips before that.
He definitely wasn't the first man you imagined as your boyfriend. But he was the first man who was aware of it.
What is that supposed to mean? I'm like, to whom are you referring? Unnamed. To which unnamed individual are you referring?
Liam, beep this out. You totally imagined he was your boyfriend. You were dying for him to be you were dying for him for that to turn into boyfriend.
Okay.
Girlfriend.
Bleep bleep. was absolutely...
Bleep, bleep.
Yeah. Bleep bleep was absolutely not my boyfriend. There's a difference between having a crush on somebody and like an unrequited romance. That's totally
but I mean,
different.
I feel like you were imagining Dawson and Joey style that it was going to happen.
So what? It never did, and he wasn't my first boyfriend. He was never my boyfriend. This was my first ever boyfriend. I can't even believe you. God, I could... That is just... That's too much. Anyway, and then he didn't turn up. He broke up with me now via phone. I'm just remembering having told you a little while ago that I never got broken up with via phone or via text or ever. And what happened then? Oh, and then months of me just... Because I used to go into NCAD in the morning in Dublin and
then
get
you
the
entered
train.
the Beverly Knight phase.
Oh my God, I did! Shoulda, woulda,
Khalees to shoulda,
woulda, coulda. Oh my God. Shoulda, woulda, coulda means I'm out of time. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, can't change my mind. And I wonder what I'm gonna do. Shoulda, woulda, coulda are the last words of a fool.
You literally listened to that
dead right.
on
Oh my God.
as you were like stitching...
Max volume, stitching and
stitching
crying.
leather bits onto your
Stitching
final
and
year
crying.
project. Yeah.
Stitching and crying my eyes out. I mean, no wonder those lines were a bit jaggedy. I could barely see through the flood's tears. Anyway, and I remember I used to go into the train in the morning and I would get on the train, drive down to the train station, get on the train, lean my head if I had a window against the window and cry all the way into Houston. Oh, pathetic.
The train.
Yeah, pathetic. I couldn't help it. Like it was the kind of crying where, you know, you're not even crying, but liquid is just leaking out of your eyes. You know that? Like you can't even stop it. You're just leaking. No?
I'm horrified by this. I cried on public transport after a breakup once, bawling my head off. And this woman leaned over to me in the Lewis and went, love, he's not worth it.
Well, that's
She was
nice.
right.
Well, nobody bothered to talk to me because, as you told me now, when I cry, I'm angry.
You do have an angry cry face.
But I mean, I don't know. I feel like I wasn't even actively crying. My face was just existing, and water was just rolling
Well, that
down
does
my
sound
cheeks.
terrifying, like a horror movie. So I'm not surprised nobody was saying anything.
Oh,
They're like, that girl's eyes are leaking. She's not even crying.
I mean, and I remember going, I will never recover. I will never be happy again. I don't really know what happened. I got over it at some point.
But that's I think that's the hardest thing about a breakup is that I remember one of my friends broke up with her then boyfriend and they've been dating for about 7 years and they broke up kind of out of nowhere. And I remember she was just so heartbroken and we all went for lunch one day. We were all kind of trying to, not like obviously just trying to say the right thing. Do you know
trying
what I
to be
mean?
there, yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of going, this isn't going to last forever. Like you will feel better. You know, you'll like, you know, things will get better. You're not going to feel like this. And she just was like I hear what you're saying, but I don't. It doesn't feel true. And like we were all getting very frustrated because she was like, I am going to be heartbroken forever. And you're like, well, we can't say anything else. And also, you're not.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to see out of it when you're in that moment.
But there are people I've broken up with there are people who I no longer am with, right? Because obviously I'm only with one person now. But of all the people I'm no longer with, some of them I look back and I go, why was I ever with them? Other ones I look back and go, thank God. And other ones I look back and I still have like a sense of fondness or what happened. You know, it's very different. Like I think that there are some ones you totally are over from, like in 6 months later, you're like, thank God we're not even together. I'm totally over this and I moved on and life's fine. And I think there's always a sense of it wasn't meant to be. But some of them you kind of go, maybe it was meant to be. And you know, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I think some breakups, like I dated a guy for 3 years from when I was in college and then kind of after college.
Who? Oh yeah. 3 years?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we dated for 3 years. And I remember we broke up. He was from Galway and I'm obviously from Kildare, but pretend I'm from Dublin. And I was working at the Irish Times while we were dating and he got a job in Dublin. He was doing engineering. And he moved up and he rented a place in Terranure. We decided we wouldn't live together because we were like, it's better for him to try and kind of make some friends and get a bit of independence. Don't really know why.
Desperate, sensible.
I know. I don't know why we didn't just move in together. I think like mom was really like.
I mean, between this, like you were 14 dating the 24-year-old, and then now you finally have a boyfriend you've been dating for 2 years, and you're like, why don't you live on the other side of the town from me?
I think we now need to address 14 dating the 24-year-old because we touched on that and then got entirely sidetracked.
Seems like an inappropriate analogy, Rosemary.
What?
We touched on that.
We mentioned it in one of our last episodes, and we got quite a few messages basically going, how could you mention that and then not go into it?
Did we?
Yeah. Well, I did.
Oh,
Maybe people just don't message you. They're not that interested in mine.
potentially.
Well, no, but I mean, I just respond to everybody, so they know
Maybe
I'm
it's
an
because
easy
it was
mark.
about you as well. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
probably.
but I mean, it wasn't really a big deal. I think like
No. So like I dated this guy for maybe like 3 weeks. Maybe it was probably a little bit longer.
I mean, I have never heard of it before recently. So I mean, it can't have been too serious.
But you were in the house when he was there.
I was not. I was not. I have zero recollection of this.
Okay, we all know. You having zero recollection does not
I
mean
do
that
not.
you weren't
I
there.
do not. I never met this person.
You
I
did
never,
meet him.
I never met him.
You were living, Beatrice, I was 6.
I'm going to-
I was 14, so you were 20, right? So you were in the country.
I didn't live there. I lived in Rathmines at that point.
No, you
going
were
to ask
home
Mom.
because I remember
No,
he
I'm gonna
came.
ask
Oh my
Mom.
God, you can. That's a fiver.
Oh yeah, it's a tenner actually.
He came and stayed in the house when he had that really bad cold, and I just remember him staying in the house for 2 nights. You were definitely there,
Okay.
and he spent the whole time going, "Oh, the weather here is so boring. The weather here is so bad. If in South Africa, the weather is so much better. Of course I have a cold. It's the weather." He just spent the whole time giving out, but he was gorgeous.
But you were going through like your angsty teen years, so you were probably giving out about everything. He's right. The weather is rubbish.
We were like, "I want to go to South
Kildare is
Africa.
crap.
I want to go to South Africa with
he's
this
right.
hunk."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
Hunk.
like, recently I asked Mom and Dad, basically, like, what were you, I mean, not to victim blame, like, what were you at letting your daughter date this 24-year-old? And the two of them were just like, sure, what could we do?
Well, I mean, has anybody ever met you? Like, and it's true. I'm sure it would just like not be worth the headache.
They could have not allowed him to come and stay
But I mean,
in the
they
house for
allowed
2
it,
nights when
they-
he had this terrible cold.
Well, Mom probably felt sorry for him.
I
She
think she
probably
did,
was
yeah.
like, "Oh, well, somebody needs to
I think
look
she was
after
dying
him."
to make him some soup.
Yeah, exactly. She probably made him some soup. I'm sure. I think it was all very innocent and chaste, right? Te.
He was very chaste, ED, and it was very chaste, TE.
Yeah, I mean, if he was, no offense, but like, how did you end up with them? And I mean that quite nicely.
No, Beatrice, I have no idea because, like, I think at the time I thought I was very mature and like I obviously just thought he saw something in me.
He obviously did.
But like I look at photographs of myself
Soup.
now and I'm like, I don't really know what. He obviously just saw like a free ticket to Soupville. He was like, I think I'm coming down with something. I'll start dating this girl because her mom's nice.
Exactly.
And I'll go and get looked
That's another
after for
fiver.
a few weeks. Oh God. And I mean, to be honest, I can't even remember. I was going to say I can't remember who broke up with who. I presume he broke up with me because I can't imagine I would have been breaking up
Not
with him.
necessarily. I mean, you did say he was an extreme complainer, so you
He
might
was
have
an
broken up with
extreme
him.
complainer and he was a total bore. But Beatrice, I'm really shallow and he honestly was very good looking. Like he looked just like Ben Affleck.
Oh,
But at the time, Ben Affleck was a bit of a hard
Oh.
like Ben Affleck as a young fella, not with that big tattoo on his chest.
Rosemary,
with the
no,
big
I
carrying
never,
the beers
I
in from
never
his car.
liked. No, I never. I always thought he had a bit of a lunk of a head. He always wasn't
what?
attractive. A lunk, a bit of a lunk of a head. Like
I don't
he
think
just
that's a word. Is
It
that
is.
a word in
Of
Scrabble?
course, it's a word.
Lunk?
Yes, it's a word. I need to look this up right now. I need to lunk this up. Okay, so back to the breakups. So you don't remember who broke up with who. So that's
I don't remember who broke up with who. But sorry, back to my boyfriend
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
college when it was actually a slightly significant breakup. Not basically, there is no story with the 24-year-old except for like it was incredibly creepy. I don't know why he was dating a 14-year-old.
well. It doesn't sound incredibly creepy. It actually sounds incredibly innocent,
incredibly
but
boring, like,
incredibly weird. Like maybe he
weird.
was.
I think he was really lonely.
I was
Like-
going to say maybe he was a little bit like naive in his personality because the fact that he found a 14-year-old so thrilling. Like 24, you could have been doing lots of other more exciting things than hanging out with you up in Uachtarard Straffan. No offense.
I'm very smart, and I was very smart then. You know. I was very-
Okay, moving on.
So my college boyfriend, we dated for 3 years. He moved up to Dublin, and then the recession happened, and he was doing engineering. So he was working as an engineer. He got let go, and he went back to Galway to live with his dad, and got a job then in a company in Galway. And so we were doing the long distance thing. Oh yeah, and then he really wanted to move to Australia,
Yeah.
and I was kind of half thinking of going with him, like for a year. You know what I mean? To go.
You
into
were
it.
not remotely thinking of going with him.
I imagined I was thinking of going with
Okay.
him, but I'd also got this,
This
job.
was this before or after you were going to Syria for the war reporting? Sorry. Sorry.
It was after.
Your eyes.
was
Go on.
after.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
So annoying. So
Stay on topic.
So he wanted to go to Australia, and basically I just got this job in the Irish Times. So I was like, this is an amazing opportunity. Like,
Oh, it was a good job.
yeah, it was a great job. Yeah. And I was like, going, oh, this is my dream job, and I can't leave now because I'll have to start all over again in Australia, which ridiculous because I'd been in the Irish Times about 2 seconds, so it wasn't like I was established. But anyway, and basically we just kept having this back and forth. He really wanted to go. I kind of was half saying I was going to go, but knew I wasn't. And then we were doing this long distance in inverted commas from Galway to Dublin, but it is long when you're young and
you can't hang out every day. Basically, it's not that. I mean, it's not that long. In America, it'd be like he lives around the corner.
Oh yeah, of course. But and then when we did see each other for weekends, if we ever had an argument or disagreement, you'd feel like the whole weekend was ruined. Mm-hmm. So I found that aspect of it really hard.
Yeah.
And then we ended up breaking up over the phone, which I remember at the time felt like such an anticlimax. I was like, we've dated for 3 years.
Broke up over the phone?
Yeah, I think we'd been
but
talking
mutually.
about.
But I mean, I think the
mutually.
thing is though, people need to understand what type of a dater you are, right? I mean this nicely, the face on you. I mean this lovingly. So when you say it was hard, I would go over to his house and, we couldn't just, your idea of a really great date is not everybody else's idea. I mean this nicely, quite genuinely. You're making faces and this isn't a criticism. I mean this quite nicely. Even here, your first date with Brandon was...
We went to a restaurant, went for lunch.
Well, okay, your second date then. Sorry, your second date.
No, our second date, we also went for dinner to Junk Ditch, and then we went for a walk around town. You're obsessed with this idea that on our second date we watched Buffy, and we fucking didn't.
Okay, well then your third date.
It wasn't on our third date, it was about our sixth date.
It was not remotely your sixth date. Date. But anyway, no, I don't know why you're taking this so badly. Okay, so we're supposed to be talking about breakups though.
Yes,
so let's get on
sorry,
with it.
I was just saying... We broke up on the phone, which felt like really anticlimactic, but also we've been having these discussions about what we were going to do and where we were going to go and whether we were going to kind of find a way to be together. Mm-hmm. And we kind of couldn't. So we ended up just deciding. And once we had kind of had the conversation where we're like, okay, you want to go and do this. I don't want to go. We're not going to be together. It felt like, well, we're breaking up, aren't we? Rather than going, well, let's talk about it next weekend, which we both knew would have been a let's talk to break up.
Yeah, but it sounds like you'd already been, all these talks were a lead in to breaking up, if you know what I mean. So you probably were already let's just get this over on the phone because we just can't talk in circles about it anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you probably, I don't remember you being devastated after, I remember you being very upset, right? And I remember you being very upset that he was leaving and... Because I think you were very good friends also. But when I think about some of your breakups, I think you were more devastated in a kind of a dramatic movie way about some of the other ones that were probably the least likable characters that you went out with. Because you went out with some very nice people and he was very nice, that one that we're talking about there.
No, I was
very, very nice. But you also went out with one that I think was extremely dodge. And he wasn't a dodgy person, but his whole setup and just... I don't think he was very nice to you, right? So that annoyed me. And I remember I met him only once, this guy who you dated. I don't know, where did you meet him?
Online.
Oh, you met him online. And he had he had a couple of kids, which, obviously is fine. But I think he had I think he was pretty insecure about your success as he perceived it, right?
Yeah.
And his own career, etc. And he was a bit resentful of that. And it came through in a couple of different ways. And I remember you talking to me about it and kind of going, oh, he seems to be a little bit peeved about this. And he was very happy for you to... kind of be financially accountable to a lot of things.
He was happy for me to pay for everything, but then he kind of needed to put me down so that, or he would talk about how ridiculous it was, how much money I earned.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it wasn't I wasn't earning six figures. Do you know what I mean? I was earning a really good, because I think I was on a daily rate, so I was earning a really good wage at the time.
But I think he meant more kind of incredulous, kind of in comparison to me, right? The fact that you're earning this when I'm not earning this.
Yeah, and it was also how can you be earning this at your age with your level of experience? That's ridiculous. And
with your good looks.
But instead of being that's amazing. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, and being
you know
happy
what else,
for you.
Beatrice? He told me, I remember the first or second time that we slept together, he told me that his ex-partner basically came through missionary every single time they had sex, and he basically was I don't really know what's wrong. My ex used to come during this, and he also told me that he did not like going down on women. He just really did not enjoy it, and he never. So I basically never came for a year and a half.
Rosemary, this is an extremely unsuitable part of this family-friendly podcast that I'm not sure I'm okay with.
A family-friendly podcast?
I don't know, but we
just
curse
all the time.
I know, but that's extremely different. And right now, although I'm not allowed to say Mom's name, I have to say it twice because she's going to be horrified by what you just announced.
Well,
Do you know what? You've probably already told her. I shouldn't even be shocked.
Absolutely already told her.
Oh my God, I can't. I don't even know what kind of relationship. Yeah, she's probably like, she never told me this.
She's done a Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Erase it. She's has a very selective memory.
She does, yeah.
Oh my God, I hope I have selective memory because I don't want to remember any of this either. And
But I just think that's like an interesting and important part
I think
of what
there's
a
a way-
selfish prick he was.
yeah, but you could say that in another way. Like, you know, he just was not very...
I'm not ashamed of
No.
having dated somebody who
That's
was
good.
who
That's
was,
good. That's good.
Cunophobic.
Conophobic. Oh my God.
Or would it be a cunnilinguaphobe?
Oh my God, please. Please. He was not a cunning linguist is all you need to say.
He was not.
Right? He only spoke Irish too, didn't he? He was a keen Irish speaker, I remember.
I don't think he was, was he?
Anyway, and then I think you guys broke up on a trip for your birthday that you were paying for. Is that correct?
We had the
You
worst.
treated yourselves. You treated the
It
two
was
of
the
you to
worst
your 21st, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was
25th?
It was 25th or 26th. Basically, for Christmas, I had bought him a weekend away for the two of us to Paris on the weekend of my birthday, which was the first weekend of February. Because I kind of was like, it'll be nice, we'll go away. I mean, it was kind of a present for myself. But I was also like, I think he'd never been. So I was like, let's go to Paris together. And it happened to be some big rugby weekend. So we basically went to Paris on the Friday. On the Saturday, he wanted to go and watch a rugby match. So we did. On the Sunday, he wanted to go and watch another rugby match. So we did.
In a pub, like?
Yeah.
Eat it.
Yeah. And then...
You, not him.
Oh, thanks. And then after the rugby match, I was convinced that he would have planned somewhere to go for dinner. You know, that I was like, it's my birthday, he's going to have something planned.
You're such a cute, optimistic person.
I know.
Such
And
a dote.
he obviously didn't. And then he was like, we just go for dinner across the road here. So we went to this pizza place. And then over dinner, he just continued to like talk down to me and demean me. And
No, I remember there was something specific that he was telling
no.
you. Oh, that's coming,
So,
sorry.
yeah, yes, this is
That's
coming.
coming, unlike you.
He always acted like it was my fault. It's so weird. It's so weird that you're not orgasming from this thing that I'm like not even trying.
Orgasming, is that a thing? No wonder you weren't. You're like, I don't even know what that is. What is an orgasm?
You're a gas woman. Anyway, so we were having dinner and he basically said to me at one point over dinner, he was like, you know what your problem is? You know, when someone says, you know what your problem
I
is, you're
do.
like, this is
Oh,
not
I
going
do.
well.
Mhm.
You know what your problem is? And he goes, you always think you're right, which is completely accurate. I do always think I'm right. But like, so does everyone. Like, nobody says something thinking they're wrong.
Well, I don't know. No, I think you say things confidently. I don't,
yeah,
but I mean...
and I'm open to discuss
But I was about to say, I
things.
think you're very open to like the 50% of the time that you're not right. Like, it's just a very confident statement. No, right?
I'd say 20%.
No, but I mean, I think that's actually a very Irish thing. I talked to, because I had that same thing, you know, a while ago, and I was talking to our aunt, who is a linguist, and I was saying to her, like, there's something I've been told, I keep being told in America that I'm very like, overly emphatic, and she was like, that's very Irish. You know, we say things with a lot of kind of confidence, but also we don't have that upspeak. You know, in the end of our sentences,
yeah, so
like
we're
it's
not
also
questioning our
a lot of it is
statements.
the intonation. Is like is how you speak as an Irish person. And maybe upspeak has become part, you know, more common now that it is kind of so prevalent. But
Yeah.
but I thought that was kind of interesting. So, but anyway, yeah, you do think you're right all the time. No, you don't. Sometimes.
I know, I do most of the time. So anyway, then we went back. Oh yeah, then I basically got really upset and was like, you know what? Like, fuck this, I've had enough. I stood up to storm out of the restaurant. Not storm, but like to leave. Realised then that he had no money, so I had to pay. So I had to storm over to the cash desk and pay before I could storm off and leave.
So
Do you know why I didn't
annoying.
just storm off and let him do it?
Yeah, yeah, you should have totally.
I know. Anyway, went back to the hotel. We didn't speak to each other then. That night, went to bed, went to sleep. Woke up the next morning and he was acting like nothing was wrong. And in my head, I was just like, okay, I just need to get through the next 6 hours. We're going to get home. And then we're never going to see each other again. I was just like, I never want to speak to this man ever again. So, oh no, actually, sorry, I wasn't at that point. At that point, I was like, we're going to make up.
Such a
Things are
gobber.
going to be fine and he'll love me again.
Oh my
right?
God.
So he was acting like nothing was wrong, and I was like, we're like, we're gonna have to talk about this. Something's going on, but we just need to get home, right? So we got the horrible Ryanair bus out to the miles away Ryanair airport, and we went through security. And I remember going through security, his bag got, you know, and they take it off. Then it's just like, we're just gonna have to open this up, his carry-on. And they opened it up and they took out a camera. And I went, since when do you have a camera? Because he had never taken a single photograph in front of me. He had not produced this camera the entire weekend in Paris, a city
Yeah.
he had never been to
Yeah.
before. Probably because he'd spent the whole time watching rugby in the fucking pub. There's nothing to photograph. But I was literally like, I've never seen... I was like, where'd you get the camera from? And he went, it's a fucking camera, Rosemary. For fuck's sake. Like, and like really loud, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like really taken aback, really upset.
Mortified.
Mortified. And so then I didn't speak to him at all after that until we got home. And we got, and we were home at like lunchtime. We were meant to go to Avoca and meet mom and dad and a few of my friends for lunch because it was my birthday.
Yeah.
So when we got to the airport, we got outside and he went, well, I suppose it's probably better if I don't come to lunch. And I went, yeah. And he went, I'll give you a call tomorrow. And I was like, no, don't bother. And he was like, what? And I was like, are you joking? This is over. And he was so taken aback and he was like, you just need to calm down. Like, you just need some time to calm down. I was like, I really don't. And I remember then, I think he called me. I basically was like, I don't want to speak to you. I'm not speaking to you. And he was like, can I call you next weekend? And I was like, eventually going, fine. And then he called me the following weekend. And I was basically like, we're breaking up. And he was really shocked. He was really like, I thought you were just going to calm down and come around. And I was like, no.
Come around to what? To like not being treated very nicely?
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
I honestly don't know.
Ugh.
And like, yeah, I mean, I think the thing for me is that breakups are almost worse when I kind of come out of it and I'm like, what was I doing? And I feel like I've wasted so much time. And I also feel like it's because with the breakup with my college boyfriend, I never had any regrets about that. That I was like, we had a really nice time together. We really cared about each other. You're a really good guy.
Yeah.
I actually emailed him a couple of weeks ago because I was writing a chapter of the book that I'm writing about dating. And I was writing his chapter and I emailed him and was like, I'm just writing about you and I was thinking about you and, like, how are you getting on? And he's living in Australia now and he met a woman over there and they have kids and like he seems to be really happy and having a great time. And it was just really nice. It was a really nice exchange. And so I never had any qualms about him. Whereas the other guy, I was just like, I was so upset because I was like, how could I not have realised he was a dick? And like, how could I have wasted all this time and also let myself be dragged down or, like be kind of pushed down by him, if you know what I mean.
Total creep. Do you remember he like threatened me that one time I met him?
No, I never remember that he threatened you. What did he say to you?
I can't remember. I was in the sitting room and he turned around and I said, oh no, it wasn't quite a threat, but it was like, so I'd met him and I made some joke and he goes, really nice joke, way to belittle people. I was like, this guy is a knob. But I was also so shocked because I was supposed to be like meeting him so we could all be mates. You know what I mean? Anyway, fine. So I don't, I was trying to think, have I ever, when you said that last sentence there about, he didn't make you feel like undermined, that you felt like you wasted your time because you felt so negative in the whole thing afterwards. You didn't, like, you were like wondering why you let somebody belittle you or, I mean, I don't want to say oppress is the wrong word, but demean maybe, right? Just make you feel less than.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I've necessarily gone out, well, I mean, I have, but I don't think in that same way, but I have gone out with people that afterwards I've gone, what in God's name? Like, they may be very nice people, but like, why in God's name? I knew from literally week one that I did not fancy them whatsoever. And yet I dated them for a good 6 months and never more so than when I was living in Italy. And I think I was not the Italian man's dream, right? Because it's like Dolce & Gabbana, you need to be wearing a very slinky little black, it's certainly in Milan at the time, which was when? The early aughts. And like a little black dress. And I was working at Marnie wearing extremely tent-like, voluminous, flowery things. Yes, muumuus. Yeah. I had
practically clogs, like.
Oh my God, yeah. Gorgeous looking clogs. Loads of handmade jewellery from Colombia. Like I was living my best life, but I was not appealing necessarily to the Milanese.
You weren't going for the sex appeal.
No, route. And do you remember then I got my lip pierced. Then I shaved my hair into a mohawk. Then I had that pair of trousers with the straps all over them.
Oh, I had them too, parachute pants.
Yes, that I was I went on a date with this guy who I met in a bar. I mean, and I actually this is a different guy, but this is a really bad story actually. And we went out for quite a while and I really fancied him. He was really, really smart. He had like amazing English. He was obsessed with Oasis, right? Himself and his brother, that wasn't necessarily the bonus point, but himself and his brother were obsessed with Oasis and they considered themselves to be like the Italian Gallaghers. It was hilarious. And they knew every song. They were in a tribute band. I can't even, right? Anyway, I turned up for the first date at this.
And you wore your parachute pants?
Yeah. I was, I was being me. I was living my truth, Rosemary. He rocks up anyway, and afterwards he goes, Beatrice, I saw you come round corner, and I have to tell you, I honestly considered turning the opposite direction and pretending I could not turn up. I was like, what in God's name, right? And
But now you realise why.
I was, no.
Those pants, Beatrice.
So what?
You saw somebody flapping around the corner.
Rosemary, this guy probably had like a pair of chinos
he probably
pulled
did.
up
And he
right up
probably
under his
had one of
nipples
those
with an
bejeweled
extremely
D&G belts.
Exactly, with this extremely thin leopard print belt. No doubt he did, and a pair of Clark's loafers. Yes, it was very cute though. It was very nice. Anyway, we went out for ages, and then he was in a drama group. He was actually hilarious. He was a very eclectic individual, and he was in this drama group, you know, like amateur theatrics. And there was a girl there that he definitely fancied, and he was always talking about her and stuff, but like nothing was allegedly ever happening. And he would go off to the drama group and then go for drinks with her and kind of, you know, not turn up to something we had scheduled. And I was semi thinking something was up, but anyway, he broke up with me, right? But it, you know, never mentioned her, although he ended up dating her for like afterwards, so it wasn't a massive surprise. But I remember he broke up with me on the road. He was like, Beatrice, I don't think this is working. He's like, I think we should break up. And I was like, what? I was like screaming down the road, what do you mean? I was like walking about 2 feet behind him. Come back and tell me what you mean. What you mean this is over? I'm like bawling, crying. I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me? And I just remember he was so mortified.
Like, how did it end? Did he just walk away from you?
No, I mean, just so you know, like it was a pretty abandoned Milanese street. Like this wasn't, you know, like
there's no defending this weeping on the street. Like, what do you mean come back? What do you mean crying? It doesn't matter how many people were on the street.
I was just like, can we talk about this?
Oh
I
my
need
God.
to understand why. I kept going, we're so good together.
Were you saying this in English or Italian?
Who knows?
I was English if he was in an Oasis tribute.
Oh, so embarrassing.
Hope to God it wasn't Italian.
But anyway, we remained friends in his defence, right? We remained friends.
Oh my God, he was obviously just trying to keep an eye on you.
No, he wasn't, but thanks. But we remained friends anyway. And then I was up in his apartment one Saturday, like just having lunch. He was cooking. And I cannot like tell you how insane people are, right? So I don't mean insane, but like how unpredictable. Then how unpredictable people are, because he was cooking and I was sitting down on, you know, in the kitchen chair, and we were chatting away, and this was all like behind us, and you know, it was quite, we were friends. It was quite clear to both of us, I thought. Anyway, he turns around with the pasta ladle in hand, right, and just lunged in for a massive snog, right? And I was like so taken aback.
Nothing to do with the pasta ladle. I was worried about what he was going to do.
No,
okay,
nothing.
Good.
And then he was just like, I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist it. Like, it's just, there's such chemistry between us. And I was so shocked. And I'm so happy for once in my life, actually so indignant, you know, at like the humiliation I'd been put through. And now this, like, actually, I still really fancy you. I was like, oh my God, I gave him a massive shove right away from me. And I was
then
like,
what, ate your pasta?
No. And then I was like, don't ever touch me again. I was like, we are friends, and you made this very clear, we're friends. Then I stormed off home.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but we were never really friends again after that. Surprise.
Fair.
But like, I was so outraged. It was such a classic though. I don't actually want to date you, right? But I just want to have you there for the days when I find you attractive.
Judging by your fashion sense, let's say that was rare days.
Okay, nice. I was outraged though. Like, but I mean, I actually don't ever remember feeling so annoyed though, you know what I mean? Genuinely, like I wasn't even, normally I would have been so flattered, like, because again, you know,
well, I was just
shallow.
thinking, I don't think I would ever have been anything but flattered at that.
Oh my God, I was raging, because I think there was obviously still like I was going to say a fine thread of, you know, humiliation. No, probably a massive streak of like the memory of my humiliation, of my own personal self-inflicted humiliation, running down that street, begging him to stay. Like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Were you wearing the parachute pants then?
No, will you get over these pants?
No, but I'm trying to envision
No,
it.
just get over the pants. No, I only wore them once, and then when he made it clear he never liked them, I mean, it wasn't like they got whipped out on a regular, pardon the pun, on a regular occasion. But anyway, yeah, I mean, very embarrassing, but slightly, you know, vindicating in the end. But I mean, not really, just totally mortifying. This idea of like running down the street in Milan, bawling my eyes out, begging him to like not leave me. What in God's name? That was not my stomach, that was the dog.
Daisy's bored by you.
Daisy's bored, yeah. Have you ever done anything that embarrassing, Rosemary?
No.
I never.
No.
Oh, that's good. Good for you.
No, I never have. I think that's it, isn't it?
What?
I was thinking how great it would be if I just refused to tell the bad story.
No, you have to tell. I'm sure you've got multiple bad stories, but tell this really bad one.
I don't have that many. I mean, when I was younger, I used to pride myself on always being the one who did the breaking up. But that's
Such a stupid thing to pride
I
yourself
know,
on, isn't it? But
I
I'm
know.
sure so many people do.
I know that
I'm
I was
sure
always
they
like,
do.
I've never been dumped. Then I got to about 25 and I was like, I'm always getting dumped. Basically,
And I was like, I'm always getting not dumped because nobody will ever go out with me in the first place.
I was seeing this guy for a couple of weeks. I mean, at the time, I think I was like, this is a great romance. And then the further I get away from it, I'm like, it could literally have been a month. I think it was a little bit longer than that. But
Were you
like,
actually going out? Do you think you both thought you were going out, or did you just think you were going out?
I think he thought we were like, I was this girl that he was like hanging out with and having a great time with, because we used to go on like really fun dates, and he was always really obsessed with going on fun dates.
Like
So-
his term, fun dates.
No. So he'd kind of be like, what could we do this weekend that's fun? So I was always trying to find, even though obviously I just wanted to fucking stay in and watch TV, right? But I was always trying to find like, well, we could go to this like immersive theatre experience.
But you did
or we could
enjoy
go
it,
to-
didn't you?
Yeah, it was fun. But like mostly because I was like, we're getting closer to him being my boyfriend. Like reeling him in, right?
The voice sounds like a troll. We're getting closer to pulling him under the bridge, wrapping him in spider web and keeping him there forever.
Anyway, we went on a series of very exciting
Interactive
fun
dates.
dates. Yeah. And I remember on our last fateful on our kind of our last fateful date when we were both thought that we were dating.
It's a bit though, like, you know, when you're making me think, it's a bit like entertaining the kids. Like when I first
Oh my
had kids
God.
living in Dallas, and I was like, what are we going to do this weekend? Now we should bring them here. I should bring them to the science
very
centre.
stressful.
And then we moved to Fort Wayne. I was like, there's nothing to do here with the kids. And I was like, yes. I don't have to pretend anymore. I'm like, opening the back door, get out in the garden, play around, tell me when you're finished.
Go out there for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was actually it was very stressful trying to come up with, and like I think because I was working as a journalist at the time, so I got invited to a lot of free press events, and like actually he was very generous, so it wasn't necessarily the freebies, but I always kind of had the you know, like,
You were cool.
or I got invited to cool things. And
Yeah.
I think I started off,
You were cool, just like that picture with you of the banana specks.
they were pineapples.
Oh, right. It was amazing. I
Anyway.
never saw that picture.
Anyway,
Ever.
you digress.
Oh, sorry, I
I
digress.
used to get invited to cool things, and then basically I was like, oh my God, I have to keep up the cool things. So I'd always be trying to find cool, like fun things to do. And on our last fun date, basically, I remember we went to this theatre thing, and then afterwards we were sitting in the pub, and something happened where I slagged him about something, or like he stumbled over his words or something, and I went, oh, you having trouble getting the words out? And he went, oh yeah, I just get nervous when I'm around people I really fancy, right? And I was like, so it's talking about me. And then
Was he talking about somebody else?
well, Beatrice, I don't know, because then 10 minutes later we're out in the street. I'm like, so whose house are we going back to? Kind of thing, like, where? And he went, you know, I don't think we should. He basically said, I really want to keep hanging out together. I'm having such a great time with you, but I just don't think.
I want to keep going to these free fun events.
Yeah, I want you to keep bringing me to fun events, but I don't want to snog you or shag you afterwards, basically. And this isn't going anywhere, right?
Sorry.
Beatrice, this is obviously the podcast I've decided I can talk about sex, and you're having serious like Catholic nunnery in the corner where you're like, well, between this and the cunnilingus, we're going to have to take a lot out of this episode. Jesus, Ted. Jesus, there's a lot in this now. Get a grip. Anyway, he basically was like, I still want to keep seeing you, but not seeing you like that.
Yeah.
And I was basically like,
I'd like to keep my options open.
yeah. And I was basically like, oh, you don't mean it. And like, I remember distinctly had like my hand on the collar of his shirt and another hand like on his side, and was like basically pressing myself up against him, trying to kiss him and being like, just let me come home with you. And in my defense, I was a bit pissed.
I love this.
But I was also, you're so cruel.
brilliant.
You're so cruel. That you're like, this is
Just so brilliant.
such a tragic
It's
story.
so
And I just kept
embarrassing.
going like,
Oh,
no, you don't mean it. Like, just like, listen, let's just, let me come home with you. We'll like talk about this tomorrow. Let's talk about this tomorrow. Oh my God.
well, in fairness to you, he had just said, like, I'm sorry, getting my lips
I know,
back.
he had just said
just
he gets nervous around people he fancied. And I was like, I was so confused. Like, you literally just said you fancied me. And he was, oh yeah. I think he also said he just didn't have, because he just set up his own business. I think he was like using the whole, you know, I just really don't have the mental capacity for like romance and dating at
And you
the
were
same
like,
time as this.
hey, I can type really well, and I
know.
can
I was
set
like,
up
I can help
stamps.com
you.
for you.
I can help you. I can be your secretary. I can help you. I can help take the stress.
I'm really good at making
relieve
tea.
your stress.
Give you a back rub.
Oh my God, stop. So anyway, he basically bundled me. I remember being bundled into a taxi and like shoved away. And I remember, I think I called him about 5 times on the way home. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember getting home and I called him again and again and again. And then I fell asleep like with my phone basically right next to my head. It's like, you know, when you have one of those nights sleep where you're waiting to wake up to like...
You had the phone right on the pillow beside you in a small t-shirt and a pair of trousers laid down underneath.
Anyway, I woke up the next morning and to be fair, he was very dignified and he texted me and he was like, "Hey, sorry, I fell asleep the minute I got in." Like
He's like, I put my phone into a soundproof.
it's like I threw my phone in the liffey. I'm just out of the phone shop. I had to go and buy a new one because I rang him literally 2 minutes after I left him. So there's no way, like, you know what I mean. So anyway, then I continued to take him on fun dates.
What?
Yeah, I told you this.
I don't remember this part.
Because he was like, I still want to be friends.
And you were like, what this really means is he's just stressed right now.
Yeah,
He still really fancies me.
Yeah.
I just
Like, he really fancies me. I need to support him through this difficult time and keep taking him on fun. So I kept taking him on fun dates. So we went on several more fun dates. And then one night we went on a very fun date. We both got absolutely trolleyed. Right? And at this stage, I was perfectly happy for us to be friends. Like... ish. I was kind of biding my time, but I was also like, we are friends.
Like that, like the Demogorgon in Stranger Things.
I'm actually imagining like Mr. Burns tapping my fingers together.
I'm totally cool with this.
Then, so we went to this event, got absolutely hammered, and afterwards we were standing on the quays and I got in a taxi and he literally just got in after me. And I was like, where are you going? And he was like, to your house. And I remember the taxi ride home to my house and the feeling of absolute elation that I was like, finally, my waiting has paid off. It didn't even take that long.
He's seen the light.
Yeah. And oh my God, Beatrice, it gets worse. We got home and I basically kept trying to rip his clothes off. He kept telling me to slow down. So embarrassing. I was obviously like, I've been starved of your body for weeks now. I'm like, sorry, I really need you. I'm so mad about you. So he kept telling me to slow down, and then I said, she's overeating. Basically, once we began to
embrace
come together, yes, when two became one, like this.
I never want to see these finger gestures again.
I was just steepling my fingers. I wasn't doing the weird finger gesture. I was just steepling my fingers.
She's steepling her fingers and uncontracting and contracting them. It's extremely revolting.
Stop it. So, anyway, we're
steepling.
Two become one. Come a little bit closer, baby, etc. And I said, "Now look, we could have been doing this all along." And I still remember the look of like fear in his eyes. Like, and I think I knew then as well that he immediately was like, oh no, I thought maybe we could just like drunkenly have sex every now and again. Whereas I was like, love and marriage, love and marriage.
Oh my God.
And then basically,
what happened? Well, I mean, did he have the decency to just leave right there or no?
Oh no.
So fear in his eyes, he proceeded nonetheless.
There was a momentary fear in his eyes and then he obviously got over that.
Temporary, mild fear.
Oh my God. And then I think he stayed over and then the next morning like kissed me on the cheek, went home and then basically was like, you know, I think last night was a mistake. We should just stay friends. And I think we kept kind of being friends for a while, like going on fun dates for a while after that again still. But I had given up hope. Oh, this is the other thing. Sorry, we did stay friends because we kept going on kind of fun dates like with like less and less frequently. And then after about 6 months, I remember one day we went for lunch and I was like, can I just ask you something? Oh God, the whole thing makes me want to die. And I said, can I just ask you something? Whatever happened back then? Like, what was that all about? Because I remember he'd given it the whole like, because I obviously had asked him before and he was like, you know, I've started this new business and I'm really stressed and it's, you know, it's like really, really difficult and I just don't have time for this. Like, I don't have kind of the emotional time for a relationship as well or for anything starting. And like, I really like you and I don't want to mess you around, but I really need to focus on my business. And I remember then about like 6 months or a year afterwards going, what did really happen? And he said, I just realised that I didn't really fancy you. And like, as if I couldn't have figured that out myself. But I was so convinced that there was a bigger reason.
But I mean,
and
in fairness, I just want to
go.
go back to that same sentence. I stumble around my words whenever I'm with somebody I really fancy. Like, maybe it would have been helpful if he had not uttered that fateful sentence. We could have saved you from...
He obviously just had that in his like charm arsenal.
Exactly.
And he was like, it was the perfect time to use that line that I love.
In his charm arse, more like, yeah, he could have potentially saved you and himself a lot of confusion.
To be honest, Beatrice, I'm not sure the omission of that sentence would have in any way dampened my ardour. My ardor on that night.
I get you. But like, it's weird though, isn't it? When you think about it, right? If you're with, you would think that if you're with somebody who you don't fancy, that they'd get it, right? But I mean, I think about the amount of people I've gone out with who I'm literally like, after about the first week, I actually do not fancy this person now. How do I A, break up with them without hurting their feelings? B, should I break up with them because maybe they are the one and I'm just in a bad mood this week? C, what if I never meet anybody, you know, and what if I'm making a mistake? And what if this is the right thing and now I've invested? It's that whole psychology of, you know, what's it called? There is a whole term around it. Like, you've put in so much effort and money that in business, like, you've put in so much money into it that people find it hard to cut their losses and move on, you know. And in relationships, it's like, I've put in so much time that it's hard to cut my losses and move on because I've already invested 3 years. Like, I should really just spend another month fixing this, and then it'll be 3 years and a month of a really good relationship, you know. And and in business, it's like, the whole idea is like, it's more cost efficient to lose $1 million, like to cut off the $1 million versus to
then
keep
to
throwing good money after bad.
Yes, to make it back. Yeah.
There's a whole term. I'll look it up afterwards, but just like everything else, I'll look it up afterwards.
Put it in the show notes.
But I actually remembered now, the whole point before I got into the embarrassment of me screaming on the Milanese street was I went out with this other guy who was my flatmate's friends, and I met him at the Lido, which was the swimming pool in Milan, where we went with her, and he was wearing his teeny weeny Speedos.
You met a man at a swimming pool? I never knew this.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was her friend. She was meeting him at the swimming pool.
My whole point is, that feels mythical to me, like that anybody would ever meet somebody at a swimming pool and then start dating them.
Oh no, we didn't immediately start dating. He didn't. He absolutely zero fancied me. He fancied her so badly, and he came over to our house then multiple times, like trying to chat her up. And I mean, I'd like to point out that, I mean, he was a very, very nice guy, but I wasn't exactly attracted to him, right? But I think I became attracted to the idea of, here's a guy who could potentially fancy me, because in Milan, like I said, they were few and far between, and I was like, I must get a boyfriend, you know. It's like this, I have a job now I need my boyfriend, and I'm in Milan, I better have my romantic, you know, Milanese moment. And he came over loads of time, and he used to stay in her room and all this. I mean, I'm such an idiot, right? Like, obviously something was going on, but like, she always claimed that nothing was going on. And then he and I started, like, he asked me out, and we went out for a couple of drinks, and we had a nice time, blah, blah, blah. It was grand. We had nothing really in common. And he was mad into the Buddhism, right? Even though he was not remotely a Buddhist. Like, he was obsessed with Buddhism per se, but he didn't behave. He didn't embody these values in any way himself, you know. And he was also obsessed with opening a tanning salon, which is absolutely not right what I would be interested in. Like, again, that's fine, and you can do what you want.
Either.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you can be a Buddhist salon. That's not even a word. Salon owner. I mean, don't know, right? But he was just very obsessed with, like, the body beautiful is what I mean. Like the gym, you know, the tan. He kept telling me I was very white and I should go to the tanning salon. And I was like, no, I'm fine, thanks. And I remember,
also, sorry, you don't really tan.
Excuse me?
But you don't really tan like the way, I don't think if you went and did sunbeds, you wouldn't get like really dark brown.
Excuse me, I would get extremely bronzed.
You'd get extremely freckly.
Excuse me? Eventually they joined together to be one large bronzed patch.
Carry on.
Anyway, so we were going out, and it was very odd. Like, we used to go out to his house I can't remember, he lived like miles away, and he would never drive me home. He'd always like leave me to the train, which always annoyed me. I'd be like, it's literally a 30-minute drive for you to drive me home, and it's an hour and a half for me to get the train. I mean, why did I not just go, can you drive me home, right? Because I feel like anybody else would just have said, drive me home. And I was always like, so cool, totally fine getting the train. Like, I wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Oh, just so annoying. Anyway, and I mean, we just didn't really have very much in common, and I don't know, but like, we went out for, I don't know, about 6 months. And anyway, and at my birthday, he came over to my party, and obviously he was invited. And he brought this bag that said, like, some underwear, like, I think it was a La Perla or whatever on the bag, right? And I was so mortified, like, I socked it down the back of the couch. I was like, this is so embarrassing. Why is he bringing me sexy undies in front of like 30 other people? And then when he left, anyway, I went in, I was like, oh my God, what did he bring me? And I was kind of like equally, you know, delighted and repulsed by this whole gift, and opened it, and inside was like an argyle Fair Isle sweater, and I actually nearly, and it was tiny. Like, he obviously had bought it for some tiny niece. It no more went near me than the man on the moon. And then, of course, I was like, who was he buying the sexy underwear for? Because it wasn't me, right? So I was like, where did this bag come from? I don't know, why did I not ask him? And anyway, then at one point,
What is it with Italian men trying to ram you into too small clothes?
oh, actually, good point. And then I don't even know what happened. But then later on in our relationship, we were in bed, like asleep one night, and the flatmate comes in, his friend, she comes in crying, and he's like, oh, I have to go into her for a while. And he just disappeared off into her bedroom and never came back, right? I mean, obviously, am I actually thick? Yes. Like, what were they doing? Did I break up with them? No. He's like, I just had to go in and get like comfort her. She just had to talk about her boyfriend. She's going through a bad breakup. I was like, oh, that's fine. Creepy and weird, right? Anyway, then we go home for the Christmas holidays, and he was having all these family problems and stuff. So, I didn't want to break up with him, because he was having all these problems with his family, and his brother was unwell, etc. So I didn't want to break up with him. Then I was at home, and then I get this phone call. I am arriving into Dublin Airport today to surprise you. And I was horrified, right?
I remember.
Absolutely horrified, because I was planning to go back in the new year and break up with him. And then there he was. And of course, just like we said earlier on, like ever the pleaser, I then felt obliged to bring him sightseeing for the entire Christmas holidays, which of course anybody in Ireland knows is nothing open, right? Because this is Ireland, okay?
And
nothing.
it's freezing.
And it's
probably
freezing,
raining.
yeah. And he was, of course, oh, what are we doing? We have been in your house now for 3 days. And I'm like, I'm home to see my parents, but he wanted to be like brought around to see things.
How long did he come for?
He came for 10 days, a week or 10
too
days.
long.
Oh yeah, and he's like, we will invite your family and friends over, your cousins, and we always have, a dinner or whatever. So I was like, okay, great, bring everybody up, they can meet him, it's fine. And then he's like, I have brought an Italian specialty, and he produces this vacuum packed pig's trotter from the suitcase, and I couldn't believe it. And he then goes and proceeds to cook it, and the whole family came up, and they all very politely kind of pushed the pig's trotter around on their plate. Like, it was not my idea. I was just like, what the hell? Anyway, and because he's Buddhist, then he was like, he started getting upset. And he's a pretty bad temper. He was at the time a pretty bad tempered Buddhist. And maybe some of it was also that he was going through this whole brother thing. But I remember that one of the reasons I was actually going to break up with him was because he'd thrown a total tantrum when he got a speeding ticket or a parking ticket on his car. And when we got it, we left a bar, we went out, and he had a parking ticket on his car. And he proceeded to like abuse me over this parking ticket. And I was like, that's it, we're breaking up. Like, don't talk to me like that, kind of thing. And so there was a bit of a, like a volatility here. Anyway, so then he was like, well, are you going to bring me to a Buddhist temple? And I'm like, we're in Ireland, right? It's Christmas. Like, there's no Buddhist temple. And he's like, well, I need to go and, whatever. I don't even know, like go and,
Pray, whatever.
Yeah, whatever, right? Do my Buddhist thing. So I look it all up, and there's like a Buddhist thing down in Kilkenny. The Buddhist centre. So I call up the centre, and I get this recorded message. Thank you very much for calling. Unfortunately, due to the fact that it's Christmas, the Buddhist centre is closed until January 10th or whatever. And I'm telling him this, and he was like incredulous. What? Like, what? It's closed? Well, why would the Buddhist temple be closed? And I'm like, because it's Ireland, So then we agreed that we would drive up to Belfast. I would bring him up to Belfast, because we went into Dublin, nothing was open. He was not impressed. So I was like, okay, I'll bring you up to Belfast for the day. So we go up to Belfast. Of course, nothing's open. We drive up. He complains the whole way there. The other thing was that when I brought him into Dublin city centre, he was obsessed with getting an Irish whiskey. And everywhere we went, so Irish again. Sorry, we've got no cream. Or sorry, we've got no cloves for the lemons.
Not everybody's that country in Dublin now.
Okay, no, but like, okay.
Sorry, we've got no cloves.
Okay, sorry, hold on. Sorry, we've got no cloves. Okay, no, sorry. Okay, no. Okay, sorry, we've got no cloves. Whatever, right? So we go up to Belfast. I'm not even going to try and do a Northern Ireland accent.
Oh my God, do.
No, I can't.
Try.
I can't even remember. I sound like Brad Pitt in
Snatch.
No, the other one. Not
Gangs
without,
of New York?
No. The one with Harrison Ford, In the Name of the Father. No. The Devil's Own. I'm not going back.
Oh my God, I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, well, that's his accent anyway. I'm not going back. Isn't he in the IRA or something? Anyway, so up we go. And so he hadn't gotten a single Irish whiskey, and he was like outraged by this. So we go up to the Northern Ireland, we're like in Belfast, we're driving around. We go into a bar, great. We sit in these hideous, like Devil's Lucifer style. If anybody's watched that TV show on Netflix, I enjoyed it a lot. And his house is very much like this bar was. He owns a like nightclub, right? So you can imagine it's very decadent. And this bar was all like tall, plush, high-backed, armchairs.
Sounds terrible. It sounds like
with
Posh and Bec's
crushed
wedding.
velvet. Oh yeah, very like that. Anyway, and your man is so the boyfriend is sitting in the chair opposite me, and he's like, I'd like a hot whiskey, and of course I'm up at the bar asking for the hot whiskey. Now, do you have one? Oh, sorry, we don't have any. We don't have any cream.
Would you not have just been like, will you lob some Baileys in on top of a whiskey, put some cinnamon and cloves and heat it up in the microwave and let me give it to him?
No, I wouldn't. At this point, I was like doing the bare minimum. I was raging. All I wanted to do was punch him the whole time. So I'm like, okay, bring it back down. She's complaining. I can't even believe this. We're all the way up here in Belfast. Not even an Irish whiskey to be seen. I was actually like, I was murderous. I was ready to actually kill him. But instead, what did I do? I drove him back down home. But no, not before. And we were sitting in the high back chairs. And we're drinking these whiskies, and I was like, I couldn't even drink a whiskey because I was driving. So I was like having a coffee going, you fucking like arsehole.
Am I the mug? You're the mug.
I was the mug. I was absolutely the mug. I was like, what the hell? You're like complaining over the fact that you're having this delicious drink while I'm drinking Nescafe, listening to you, hating you. I didn't even want you here. Like, but only, I mean, it could have gone, it could have been a great week, but it wasn't. Anyway. And then he looks at me and he goes, Beatrice, turn your head to the left. So I turn my head. He's like, turn your head to the right. I turn. He's like, when we get back to your house, I have styling products can share with you. Back of your hair, very flat. Curls not looking good. And I was like, that's it. That's it. I was like, that's literally it. I do not need hairstyling tips or product from my boyfriend. It's over.
Did you say that to him then?
No, I didn't. I said, thanks a lot. Got in the car. Drove down to Dublin. Then he decided he wanted Indian food and it needed to be brought into the city centre and he needed a takeaway and what was wrong with Ireland. So we drove around until we found a takeaway. Now, in hindsight, what's wrong with me, right? I am the mug. I should have just been like, sorry, I'll bring you home and I'll see if we have any carrots and I'll make you up a carrot dal, right? Or whatever, right?
Sounds gross.
Well, who cares?
Yeah,
I've got some rice.
Good
You can
point.
have some dal, right? No, eventually bring him home. Didn't even break up with him when I got home. Went back to Italy. I think continued to go out with him. Then had a party, cheated on him, and then felt so guilty. Stayed with him for another 2 months, and then eventually broke up with him. The whole thing fizzled out. But can't even. I mean, that's the one I look back and I go and no offense to him, he's actually a very nice person. But why did I go out with him? I never fancied him. So that breakup, anyway, I broke up with him and he kept, oh no, I totally forgot about this. Oh yeah, so when I actually was breaking up with him, I started avoiding him in true, really grown up fashion. I started avoiding him and making up lies about where I was going. And
But you were young at this point, weren't you? You were in your early 20s.
Yeah, but not this young.
No, but I mean, you weren't
No, I was 20. I feel like 3, maybe 23,
I feel like anybody
24.
in their 20s feels like their 20s is totally adult. Whereas now I feel like I was very young in my 20s.
I mean, I was young, but I also knew this was bad behaviour. So
yeah, but you were still you were like a little coward.
Yes, I was a little coward. But
Yeah.
I remember anyway, so I started avoiding him, right? And I'd go out with my girlfriends and I'd be like, here, if anybody calls, if he calls, tell him that we're out here. Or I'd say, oh, I'd love to hang out with you. I say, but I have to stay late at work or whatever. And really I'd be out in the local bar, having a great time with the girlfriends. And I remember I got home one night. I got home to my apartment, which was 8 flights up, no lift. And I got home and under the door, there were these photographs of me and Julie, with whom I lived at the time, in our kitchen. And I absolutely lost the plot. I became obsessed with the idea that there was a stalker out on the balcony taking photos of us through the kitchen window. I was so beyond freaked, right? I was like, Julie, I need to call the police. Should I call the police? The two of us were crying over the kitchen table, right? The next day, I get this phone call from the boyfriend. Did you get those photographs I left you under your door? He's like, I thought you were going to be at home tonight, doing whatever. So I dropped by just to give you these photographs. Now, let me tell you, we can post them. They were the worst photos ever. These were not photos that somebody urgently needed to give to you at 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday night. He was obviously checking up on me. Oh, 1,000,000%. But also, I was so relieved. And then I looked at the photos again and I'm like, oh yeah, obviously these were actually taken from the door frame. I don't know why I thought they were taken from the balcony, which was only accessible from the 8-story high roof.
Absolute idiot.
The two of us crying oh my God, we've got a stalker. Anyway, broke up with him after that. I was like, how dare you not trust me?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've ever. I mean, I broke up with my school boyfriend several times, but I don't think broke up with him and then got back with him, and then broke up with him and then saw he was fancying someone else, so immediately wanted to get back with him. But I don't think I've ever actually lied to someone, or you basically gaslit him.
What?
You
No,
gaslit
that
him.
only went on for about a week.
You were avoiding him?
Yeah, my avoidance
Oh,
only went on for about a week. Also, I'd like to say to anybody listening out there, in an attempt to be extremely transparent to my kids, I once made the mistake of telling Nash, who's 9, like once recently when we were watching a TV show and somebody cheated on somebody else, and Nash was like, "That is the worst thing ever. That is," and I was like, "Nash, when you're a grown up, it's shades of grey." I was like, "I once cheated on somebody." Ultimate mistake. Like, he
Never
now
tell
thinks
your
this
kids
is like
this.
every time somebody talks about cheating, Nash is like, "You did that, Mom. You broke somebody's heart. You cheated. You're a bad person, Mom." Like, I think I was very naively thinking Nash was old enough to
He's 9.
process this. Yeah, but I mean, and understand that like it really wasn't serious. I was like, "Oh, is this person I wasn't really very serious with?" And like, I know I shouldn't have done it, but it was just one time. And obviously, I'm like, I just kissed somebody else. And Nash is like, literally now feeling so sorry for his dad to be married to me,
To this whore.
to this harlot. Yeah, exactly.
I've never cheated on anyone, but I've been cheated on. But so have you.
Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah,
No,
I didn't
no,
know it
well,
at the time though.
Oh yeah, but like you mentioned it literally.
Yeah, but
not 10
I didn't
minutes
know
ago.
it though. I suspect. I have to say, I did suspect it though. I suspected it multiple times with multiple different people, and I suspect they were all accurate. And I actually wonder if, when you suspect it, is it true?
I didn't suspect any of it at any of the time. Like the guy that I dated who was cheating on me with the girl who worked in the square, I just was like, why do you
but
never
you were
want
very
to go
young
to the
then.
square? Oh yeah, I was
But like
very
then
young.
you were like 14.
But like anytime we went to the cinema, he wanted to go into town. I was like, why can't we just go to the square? It's
What
so
age
much
were you
nearer.
there though?
I was 16.
Yeah, but I mean, also like somebody not wanting to go to the square is actually understandable. So like, how are you
Yeah,
supposed to
except he
think?
always went with his mates. So I was like,
Oh.
why do you never want to go to the square with me? And now I knew it was because your one worked in the square. So he just didn't want to see her. He didn't want to, you know what I mean? Didn't want to be with me when she was there.
Oh, poor you. Mm-hmm. So embarrassing to be cheated
And then I
on.
remember another time I got cheated on. Well, another time an ex of mine cheated, like had a drunken cheating moment. And I just remember the moment of when he told me, I was sitting in my pajamas watching music videos on YouTube and eating like tortilla chips or something. And I remember he walked in, he was
you
like,
were
I
like-
kissed someone.
And you went, why?
And I was literally like, let me get changed. Like,
Let me get changed.
No, I didn't say that. It was birthday crying. But like,
Oh.
I think like I just felt like such a slob, and I was like, of course you did. And
Oh.
I'm like, there, tortilla chip on its way to my mouth. YouTube on like minute 57. I'm like, oh, you did.
Poor you. But I mean, you weren't even invited out that night, were you?
No.
No. So I mean, you couldn't have done anything. You couldn't have been there. You couldn't have done anything different, even if you were. But I mean, I also, like, what I mean is, you shouldn't have felt bad about what you're wearing or who you were. Like, I also think that if somebody's going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you. Like, I think it's nothing to do. Like, you certainly can't. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that sentence that I said there was actually a joke. 'Cause, like, I don't think you certainly can't expect to be around somebody the whole time to prevent them cheating on you. And I've seen people behave like
no.
that too. Who won't let their other half go anywhere because, they like being together so much.
Maria.
Yeah, exactly. But really,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
because they don't trust them to be out by themselves. And like, can you imagine? That's not a relationship. That's not a sustainable
No,
plan
I mean,
either.
yeah, like I think it was just more that I was like, I think I was going through a kind of a difficult time at the time anyway. And I hadn't been, I mean, surprise, surprise, hadn't really been doing much. And I probably had been in my pajamas a lot of the time. And
So what? There are some cute pajamas out there.
yeah, no, I know. But I think I was just like, oh, no wonder you're like dating me who's like really boring, mostly depressed and kind of a slob. Of course you cheated on me. You know what I mean? What advice would you have for anyone going, well, look, you have to give some
Advice? I'm like, why are you asking me for advice? I have zero advice.
No, I
got
just mean,
cheated on
like-
multiple times.
No. I don't mean about cheating. I mean about breakups.
Oh,
So like, because like I did a Q&A on Instagram a week ago or so. Just it's in my Instagram highlights if you'd like to watch it back. And somebody asked me, did I have any advice on coping with a breakup? And I was literally like, no. Like, cry if you want to cry. Eat whatever you want to eat.
Yeah.
Like, fresh air helps. Drink lots of water because I feel like crying is very dehydrating.
oh, I mean,
Like, talk to your friends. Try not to text them, basically.
well, I think you took it all. You took it all there. I mean, I can't think of anything. I mean, I feel more like it's like give yourself a bit of time to think about it, because I
Yeah.
feel like we're all so quick to try and solve things and like, just
like, move
talk
on.
through them. No, more like if you're not accepting of the breakup, you want to talk about it. You want to meet up and you want to understand why and you want to convince them that they were wrong, right? And like you can't convince somebody of something that they don't want.
No.
You know, and I feel like we all think that if we could just get in the room, if we could just, you know, share our side of the story, at the end of the day, somebody wants to be with you, they do. And if they don't, you can't make them. Like, there's zero making them. People can stay with you for all the wrong reasons, but ultimately you want them to stay with you because they want to be with you, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like super simplistic.
No, but it's true. I mean, I think I remember like one of the breakups that I found the most difficult, or the most like I just didn't want it to be happening. I remember thinking to myself, there's nothing I can do about this. Like, there's literally, I can't give myself a makeover and win him back. I can't, you know, prove to him this. I can't, you know, become the person I think he wants, because that's in my head as well. You know what I mean? And I found kind of a freedom in being like, I literally cannot do anything. I'm completely powerless. And like, that might sound like a bad thing, but for me, it was actually like, okay.
No, I think it's an acceptance, right?
Yeah.
It's accepting that, but like, it's not just in breakups, like in relationships, in friendships, in work, wherever, you know,
in any variable where you have another person.
Yeah, we often are told, you know, if you could be more collaborative, if you could be more open-minded, if you could let them speak first and express their emotions. But at the end of the day, you can do lots of things and you could make the relationship better. But in lots of ways, people have their own agendas. And if their agenda is not to be with you, you will never manage to convince them, and you will just make yourself miserable.
Yeah. Or like, I remember somebody saying to me as well, when I was basically going, will I call him or will I text him, or like whatever it was. I think it was my friend Claire was like, no, because then you'll never know if he would have called or texted you.
Yeah, but like, is that ultimately what it's all about? I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you want to text him and you want to call him, you should go ahead, because you're going to find out what he thinks then. At least you won't be spending all your time wondering. Like, I don't think a call or a text is going to make or break the relationship. I personally don't. I mean, but I also don't know. It's not like I would, here's my advice. Don't follow them down the road screaming and crying. It didn't work. Right? It didn't work for me, probably won't work for you, unless they're extremely flattered by that kind of extremely embarrassing. Oh, I would like to point out as well, middle of the day behaviour. Yeah, middle of the day,
oh my God,
fully
at least mine
sober
was
behaviour.
like 1 a.m, 2
Oh,
a.m.
no.
Mine was
fully lit.
dark.
Fully lit.
Although mine was
mortifying
on
behaviour.
Suffolk Street, like one of the busiest, like right outside the International Bar.
Oh, God.
So embarrassing.
Oh, excellent.
You know, though, another piece of advice, when me and my college boyfriend broke up that time, I remember for probably about a month, I would wake up every morning and just burst out crying. Like, you know, you have that moment where you wake up and you're like, oh, another day. And then you're like, oh, I remember. Like, I'm so upset.
Yeah.
And I'd have this moment where it would hit me and I'd burst out crying. And I remember I used to go to a spin class in City West almost every single morning, because it was taught by Dave from California, who I found very intimidating, and I never wanted to cry in front of him.
Oh.
So I would literally go and like try and squeeze my eyes through the spin class to not cry. But actually it was quite helpful.
But you see, it doesn't matter, because even if you were crying, you'd probably be like,
you just roll red.
No, she's crying because like she's so unfit. So I'd be great
Oh my
at
God.
that.
He used to come around in the middle of the spin class and turn your knob up. So there's literally no other way to say it.
How do you always
There's
have
no
the
other way to
worst
say it.
phrases?
He would
Here, I
literally
have one.
make
I
your
have
life more difficult.
I have some good advice.
Go on.
I think here's something you could do to make yourself feel better, right? From a relationship that is unsalvageable, or in my own case, the person you're going to end up marrying, right? So right before I got pregnant with Nash, who my firstborn, and so 10 years ago, I went on a holiday with Julie. We went to Hawaii and we had a great time. And on that holiday, we were like, we enjoyed ourselves so much in our single lives so much that we were like, let's go back to New York and like break up with our boyfriends. Like, let's break up with them. Like, it's really, we're having such a much better time. Like, boys are not worth it. Like, let's just go back and be single.
Together.
Yeah, let's just hang out together and like, what is this all about, right? Anyway, got back to New York, obviously broke up with nobody, ended up getting pregnant, like delighted. 10 years later, here we all are. Life's great, right? So made the mistake of telling that jokingly to Nash a couple of years ago. I said, well, you know, I said, your dad's lucky I'm still with him. And, you know, I said, right before you were born, Nash, I said, I was about to break up with him, right? Thought no more of it. Like, laughed, joked.
Why would you do this to anybody?
Oh, no, wait. Laughed, joked. We all laughed. Revisit the conversation with Nash about a year later. And I go, do you remember I told you that I was going to break up with Dad? He goes, no. Dad said he was going to break up with you. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, apparently I don't know whether Don is running into them in their sleep and whispering in their ears, or it's just because he's at home with them during the day, repeats this story, Don has now co-opted my story and my past, and they're all convinced that lucky Beatrice got stayed with, right? Because Don was really considering, he was ready to break up with me, but I came back from this Hawaii holiday and begged him to get, with a tan, with a large freckle, and begged him to stay with me. And luckily for them, you know, I was
successful.
He bestowed his presence, his company upon me, and we're all together.
So hang on, the moral of the story is
your reality is anything you want it to be.
Live your truth.
Yes, Rosemary, live your truth, as you'd love this. So live your truth.
Years later, just rework it slightly to your
advantage. The whole point is, whatever happened in the past is whatever you want to have happened.
So I wasn't in my PJs watching YouTube. No. He was.
Oh yes, he came back from a night out.
Put on his PJs.
He came back from a night out with his PJs on.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and you were so horrified that
and glam.
Yeah, you were so horrified in your Roisin Murphy-esque ensemble that you said, "I can't be with you anymore."
And that was that.
Oh
my god! Thank God I got rid of that loser.
That's what you're going to tell your future children. The same way that Mom tells us that she tried to give you back in the hospital, nobody would take you.
She tells me this all the time. They took one look at me and they said, that's another $5, by the way. They took one look at me and they said, take her back, we don't want her. Why? What was wrong with them? They used to tell me that all the time.
I think they thought it was going to toughen us up, but instead it made us like incredibly weak shells of humans.
Touchy and sensitive. I've nearly cried about 4 times this episode already. It's all their fault. Thank you so much for listening to Not Without My Sister. We hope you got some great tips on how to be broken up with in a dignified manner and just how many phone calls is acceptable to make to a man who tells you he no longer wants to date you. The answer is 7. Teen. I'd say it was about 17.
17.
And you know what as well? That was in the phase of my life when cleverly, in my drunken state, whenever I came home from a night out, I would erase my call and message history so I couldn't know the next morning how embarrassing.
For yourself?
Yes. So when I woke up the next morning, I didn't even know how many times I called him. I'd say it was loads.
Oh my God. So
I
just like to know.
Still calling him when I was peeing. Like I came home, I was sitting in the toilet, I was calling.
I'd like to know if you are the individual that Rosemary phone stalked that evening. Please let us know how many phone calls she did make, just out of interest.
He doesn't know. He fell asleep immediately when he got home.
Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this, or if you enjoyed any of the other episodes, but not this one, please recommend to a friend.
How could they not like this one? Recommend to at least 3 friends. Please.
Oh yeah, that'd be
You're
fab.
Being very conservative.
Oh yeah, and please also write us a review in your spare time, because we know this is all you have to do.
And please also pen us an email. Notwithoutmysis@gmail.com.
Any subject topics would be welcome. We're very subject topics. Okay.
Topic recommendations.
Okay. Any topic
recommendations.
Okay. Yes, we're looking for recommendations for episodes. Please let us know anything you'd like to hear us talk about.
Although obviously not cunnilingus, because Beatrice doesn't like that being mentioned. You can follow us on Instagram at Rosemary McCabe with an A on my Mac. Beatrice is at Beatrice McCabe with an A on her Mac. The podcast is at Not Without My Sister, notwithoutmysis.com. And you will get us on Friday for a mini-sode and next Tuesday for a full episode. Right here, wherever you're listening to this. Guess it's true, I'm not good at a one-night stand.
The accent.
But I still need love, 'cause I'm just a man. These nights never seem to go to plan. I don't want you to leave, will you hold my hand? Oh, won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. This ain't love, it's clear to see. But darling, stay with me. Why am I so emotional? This is not a good look, gain some self-control. Deep down I know this never works, but you can lay with me so it doesn't hurt. Oh, won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. This ain't love, it's clear to see. Oh, won't you stay with me? Oh, won't you stay with me? 'cause you're all I need. This ain't love, it's clear to see. But darling, stay with me. Bye.
Bye.
Not Without My Sister is produced by Liam Garrity. Original music and sound by Don Kirkland and original illustration by Lindsay Nielsen.
Not Without My Sister is a member of The Warren, the home of great Irish podcasts. As is my podcast, Meet Your Maker. You'll find more great shows at thewarren.ie.